From Wilson.
That's fine.
What do you recommend for diarrhea?
That's all
a couple
you.
different things. Yeah, I'm kind of like the nutrition guy for doggos. So, one, are you doing like just pure wet food, or are you doing a kibble mix, or are you doing like a raw food only? If you are doing any of those, you gotta add something like sweet potato or pumpkin. Pumpkin tends to firm it up a little bit. Sweet potato is really, really good for it, but some dogs don't do so hot with it. So I would say try pumpkin first, and then sweet potato if you get a good reaction from the pumpkin. I think sweet potato does a little bit more than the pumpkin, but pumpkin tends to be a little bit better for the sensitive stomach.
Rice is something that's recommended a lot, but it can honestly, all it does is firm up the poop. It honestly doesn't always do a lot of good internally, like what's going on inside of your puppy. It can make it easier to pick up, but it doesn't necessarily help with inflammation, right?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah.
You could also try getting a probiotic. Sometimes they just have they don't have amazing gut health, and it's causing other issues because of it. So good probiotic might help as well.
But you should know that, like, let's say your puppy's not used to playing, and then you go for a play date, they might have diarrhea for 24 hours. It's arousal based. It's really, really common. And if that's the case, just kind of skip a meal, and then maybe give something a bit more bland, like some plain chicken with a little bit of kibble or a little bit of your raw food or wet food, whatever you're feeding, and do that for a few meals until the dog's cycle gets back on track. Am I right on that?
Yes, but I gotta say,
nutrition guy.
I gotta say one more thing too, and I might go against a few vets out there. Ricky's gonna give me a look. The Hills diet, where they give you like this can of specialty food.
Oh crap!
It's basically just.
Are you actually?
Yeah, I'm totally
suggesting this.
I'm doing it. I gotta go for it. You guys can totally ignore me.
It's not just that brand. That was just an example. They recommend a lot of brands that are very, very bland, and they recommend them for long periods of time, which isn't a good idea because they have no nutrition. It's all filler. Here's a bunch of filler for your dog to have less gastrointestinal issues. I do have a rebuttal to that. I'll let you finish, but I have a rebuttal.
It was one particular can. It is.
Oh, it wasn't just that brand.
The Hills gastrointestinal
Is it
health.
science too?
It's Science
Science
Hills.
diet?
There's a couple
Yeah.
different ones like prescription diets, where if you give this whole can over 2 weeks, your dog's not going to want to go back to regular food. It's much easier to do a bland diet like chicken and rice
Yes.
for 3 or 4 days, and then slowly incorporate kibble into it and eliminate some of that rice, and then slowly pull back on the boiled chicken and fully incorporate the kibble. But that other canned stuff, it's just got so much junk in it. It's delicious to them. It's amazing. It's like going to McDonald's 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Your body's not going to be amazingly happy with it, but also you won't want to go back to healthy food because it doesn't taste as good as McDonald's.
My rebuttal is I've come across 2 dogs, and one of them was a puppy. That's the only reason I'm mentioning this. One of them was my dog. I adopted a 5-year-old dog with colitis and a bunch of other issues that had pretty much just eaten scraps and God knows what else his whole life in a backyard, kind of junkyard type setting. And then another puppy that had like pancreas issues, but it took them forever to figure that out. And that diet was the only thing that stabilized them for a while. But you're right, the longer, and we learned this the hard way, the longer that they're on it, the harder it is to add real nutrition back into the diet. So here's a really long explanation for this, but if you guys can do what he said, which is just something bland rather than just jump to one of those diets, those should be for extreme cases, I think. Try some blandness first. We need to move on.
Remember how we said this is like an 8-word question?
We need to move on. Let's try a short
4,000 word answer. All right, so next we have my 5-month-old golden pup jumps up on people when they visit. One, thank you for the breed, thank you for the age.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Help.
Yeah.
Beth, you want to take this one?
Yes, I do. 5 months old, you can add some accountability. We're not talking about some 10, 12-week-old puppy where we would do a lot of food redirect and sit and teach place and teach them an alternative, of what to do. You get to do 2 things with a 5-month-old puppy. First, you do need to set them up to understand what their alternative is. You can't just say no, because then they'll be like, okay, and then they'll be touched again, and then they'll jump up again. So you do need to have a really strong sit or down, or if it's in the house, place is awesome for this, because place is like a target, it's like a dog bed or a cot.
We prefer cot because it's elevated,
Yeah.
and there's a difference between being on the ground and being on this elevated bed.
It's easier to train.
Mm-hmm.
And you do a lot of food work and you calm them down, but the person has to behave. No touch, no talk, no eye contact. Wait till the puppy fully settles down before they get the permission to get up and say hi. So that way, even though they're still gonna jump, you're not rewarding excitement of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then coach the person to be calm. Like, we're trying to train our puppy, please be really calm. Hey, here's a treat. Why don't you ask my puppy to sit instead? Always do that outside on walks. Don't let a bunch of people pet your puppy on walks or they go wild and you can't tell a stranger how to act. And so be like, actually, we're training. Here's a treat. Will you try asking my puppy to sit? And then you've done the prep work for that. Okay, so at the end of the day, though, you got to have a no. So if your puppy jumps up at home, don't do this with strangers on the street. But when you're practicing at home with yourselves, just move in to your puppy, your 5-month-old, golden pup, plenty big enough. So have the mentality of, if you touch me, I touch you. And you're not like driving them across the living room or anything. But if my dog jumps up on me, I'm just gonna be like, no, and I'm gonna claim the space a little bit, just like one step. So
after she did the bump and the dog stepped back,
I freeze.
She would step into that space and then freeze. Because she's basically taking the area that he previously was, so she's claiming that space so he doesn't feel empowered again to jump on her.
Yeah.
The whole reason why we even do this is we're empowering our no. When you step in and say no, our puppy starts understanding, whoa, so that's what no means. If we just sit there, no, the dog's like, yes. The energy escalates with every repeat, but no, step in, stand like a tree, pause, and then wait for them to settle. If they do, that's your motivation to get them to stop.
Yeah.
You're empowering that no command. Sorry, I hijacked it. Go.
No, that was good. Those are good details. And that's what I was going to say is make sure you freeze. If you continue walking and doing what you're doing, you cause more stimulation. You have to wait till your dog or puppy is fully settled and then do the redirect. We're still talking about puppies, so we can't just move on to what we were doing. So we step in, freeze, puppy kind of settles and like thinks, what do I do with myself? Then give them something to do. Then do your redirect that you were probably doing between 8 weeks and 16 weeks old. So add that in. But have your puppy, when people come over, have your puppy on a leash. Be preventative. Teach them what you want them to do, not just no for not jumping. It has to be two sides of the coin.
So can I devil's advocate it a little bit?
Really, really quickly, we have to move on.
What if the puppy doesn't stop jumping? Could you throw on a leash or maybe even extend out the arm while stepping in?
A little pressure.
Yeah.
Hey, we had to do that recently. This woman had a really driven pit bull puppy, very excitable, and maybe spoiled it rotten for the first 2 months of his life. And we would never. You would never do that out there, but this person did. And so when she stepped into her puppy didn't believe her and started grabbing her pant leg. And so that happens. Yeah, so that was a really good point. And so if you see that, you have no believability. I'm not trying to be mean, but you got no believability and you got to get it back. And so the leash guidance can help with that along with your food work. Okay.
We're not saying go up, we're saying go out while you step in.
Up
so let's pull up a little bit.
A little.
We're not trying to lift the 2 front feet off the ground. We're just trying to push up. Pressure.
A little.
And then guide them backwards to get them to back off. It's like you're adding leverage to your body block and stepping in.
Yeah. Okay. 5-month-old mini doodle. How to train her to meet someone politely without jumping all over. All right.
Exactly what we just talked about.
Yeah, Tilly the doodle pup. I'm really sorry, but we're gonna refer you back to Wilson's question.
Oh, and thank you for joining us. You're like 5 weeks in a row.
Oh yeah, that's right,
Tilly.
Hi, Tilly.
Love that.
My 4-month-old puppy gets spooked walking more than a few houses away. How can I help? We've talked about this pretty extensively on some other lives, but to just kind of jump into it, 4 months old, that's 16 weeks old. You want to build a lot of food drive in the house on leash, in the backyard, in the front yard, in the hallway if you live in a condo, before you try to get anything out in front of the houses. You need to have this mentality of, you're gonna move, we're gonna do this, let's go, puppy come, good. And if it doesn't work, pick your puppy up, walk a block away, do it again. Get in your car, drive down to the park. Build up your puppy's confidence in other areas. Neighborhoods are very scary for puppies because it's quiet until they deal with dogs barking behind fences and traffic. And so that can be really tough and they just want to go back home.
They're so close, why wouldn't they want to go home?
Yeah.
That's the mentality you have to take. But I really like what Beth said, drive them away. I've had so many dogs nervous dogs who try to get 3 houses down. It's like clockwork. They get a certain point, they're just boom.
They're done.
Done.
Yeah.
pick that pup up, walk a few houses, or I like to drive too. I think that's a fun one. Go to a park
We drive
and
a
work
lot.
them at a park, like a quiet park, a calm park, as much as a park can be calm, and then work them there, and then try to walk home.
To if it's close enough, To kind of give you an idea, when we do like board and trains, it's indoor work for the first few days. Then just in front of the few houses, we just do turns and obedience. All the food work we did inside, we just do in front of the houses. And I don't want to expose puppies to territorial dogs behind fences. And so we go to the park and work the rest of the days. And then on their last couple of days, we'll try a neighborhood walk just to get a sense for how they're doing, because it's only like a week or two. So anyway, here at Puppy Academy, it's a longer extended program. So if it's not a board and train crammed into a week or two, the first month, at TPA is very, very local. We don't go to the PCH, which is crazy busy, or the park.
Pick them up and walk past PCH.
Yeah, we pick them up because we have to walk by it. So they're picked up and walked around the corner. And so just kind of keep that in mind. Don't be too hard on yourself, but you need to build up some food routines. All right, ideas to keep a puppy entertained when I work night shift and sleep during the day. Well, you just have to switch it.
Get your puppy on your schedule.
Yeah, I know that's not the easiest thing in the world for your puppy. It doesn't maybe come the most naturally, but get your puppy on your schedule. Make sure that you're making it very dark and quiet when your puppy is in crate, and do everything you would normally do, except you're doing it mostly at night.
And if you're not doing crate, you'll probably need to.
You'll need to.
Because you're changing something that naturally comes to a dog to be awake during the day cycle.
People too.
People too, it's true. But you've already conditioned yourself, so now you have to condition your dog to daytime comes out, your room is pitch black, you've got the crate covered so it's dark in there as well. If you're not crating, we recommend crating because it creates a strong understanding.
Play TV or music or radio. Yeah.
You still have to do something to entertain them. And eventually they'll start sleeping through the day, being awake at night.
And then Kongs are a good idea. So build up your puppy's food drive. Some dogs won't be really into getting food out of Kongs, but if your puppy has a lot of food drive, work up to dry kibble or dry healthy treats. A little bit of healthy peanut butter or something, and do that for a few days. If the dog is really into it and gets everything out within 30 seconds, try lightly freezing it and then freezing it a lot. See how they do. That can give them something to do as well.
A couple quick ones from TikTok.
Okay.
Where are you guys located?
We are located in Los Angeles, California. We're in Hermosa Beach.
Right next to the PCH.
And then
The PCH.
The PCH.
this one is, hello, when you get a chance, can you please tell them I said hi and I like their videos?
Oh, thank you so
Because
much.
I think someone is behind the camera. You are right. And that's what happened last time when I said something.
What was that last part? What happened? I'm just gonna
I'm behind the scenes reading your questions.
This is talking about our boss.
Oh.
All right, let's see. You want to read this one?
1-year-old mini schnauzer. How can I work to get her to stop barking when I tell her to? Kind of actually, a lot of it's falling under the no as well.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you have to establish more leverage with that no. You have to empower a little bit more. Not only can we say no, a no doesn't have any value until you give it value. So if you tell her no barking, there needs to be a leash on her. You have to be able to guide her away from it. Maybe a loud clap. You can do like pet corrector, which is an air spray, so a loud and it will kind of shock them. It's an interrupter. It's not going to make her stop. It doesn't correct the behavior, but it makes her be like, huh? And in that 1 second of her being like, whoa, you have to be like, come, sit, good, down, treat. Don't reward right away after the no and the come.
Get her mind out of it.
Yeah, you gotta break that mentality. But the leash, that's my guarantee for almost all clients. You can guide them away, and you have to get them under threshold. Threshold is where she barks. Working her under threshold is where she starts working for you and not paying attention to things she wants to bark at.
So let me jump on top of that. So when he mentioned what to do when she barks, okay, great. Get control of that moment, get the redirection. That's only going to happen a couple of times, and then it's not going to work anymore. So once you kind of create a bit of an inhibition, maybe a bit of a hesitancy to pop off barking with what Sparky mentioned, now it is your job to develop the skill of catching her before she barks. This is a 1-year-old dog, just to be clear for everybody, this is not a puppy. So what you're doing is when you get the alertness, when you get the ears forward, when you get did she say schnauzer?
Schnauzer.
The stiffness, they get very, very stiff a lot of times. Their little tail just goes ping and doesn't move. So when you see stiffness, when you see ears perked, and you know they typically bark at what they see or what they heard, that's intent. Their intent is to just about start to bark. And that's when you need to catch them. That's training right there. So what Sparky mentioned hopefully gets them out of that barking phase and maybe creates a little bit of inhibition and a little bit of, you know, not just popping off all the time. And then you have to learn how to catch things before they escalate, because that's how you truly teach your dog to stop barking. That should be 90% of what you do. And we do the same thing. If we get a dog, especially a 1-year-old dog that's just really popping off, we go after it to see if we can interrupt it. And once we can, then we can start to look for the signs that happen before the reactivity, before the explosion, to stop them. And that's really where they're still aroused, but it's not through the roof. Like, you know, it's kind of like putting out the fuse before the explosion. So go after the fuse, and you'll have to learn how to do that. There's lots of trainers that talk about that, and you'll have to learn how to have that skill, because it is a skill. It's definitely a skill. Okay, moving on. Katie says, love your IGTVs. Thank you. I've got a question. 15-week-old lab dachshund mix? How did that happen? Lab dachshund. My brain is going off.
It was a very excited dog.
Shut up. Okay. He's not scared of the leash, but when I take him out for walks, he just wants to sniff the ground. Well, yeah, you got a retriever and a dachshund mix. Way to go. I've still got him on harness and try food motivation. No luck. Any tips to motivate him to start walking? Okay, so you've got a 15-week-old, so you still have a baby. So I do think you could transition out of the harness though. I think you could get something to have a little bit more control of the head. There's a lot of different things you can use for that. There's a plethora of options out there, but I think you need a little bit more control of the head. Keep doing what you're doing, but when you're constantly compromising with food, with a dog on a harness around 15 weeks old, you're not going to win. So we wouldn't be putting corrections into play at this point, but we would want to be able to redirect the head in some way, shape, or form to have better control over the situation. And then I would also say just walk with a lot of confidence and walk with a lot of just, assertive
presence.
Assertive presence. This doesn't mean mean or harsh. It's just confident assertiveness. So like, let's go.
Very stoic.
Yes, and let me ask you this. If your dog kind of drifts to the right to sniff a bush, do you accidentally slow down a little bit to see what they're doing, or are you slowing down to reach into your food pouch to redirect them? Because your body language might accidentally be praising the fact that he's slowing down to sniff a bush. So try to keep him moving, keep food in your hand at all times so you don't break pace when you're redirecting. You have anything to add?
No, I kind of like that.
15 weeks old?
I would honestly say 15 weeks old, most of the time we're not even outside with our puppies yet. If you're just going out for a potty walk,
That's him.
we're talking facility. I'm in a city. I'm in a city with a
Yeah,
lot of noise, a
it's
lot of
true.
traffic. I'm doing a lot of inside walks, and if I am going outside, it's walking to an area that my dog knows is the potty area.
Yeah.
So they're more motivated just to get there, not to sniff everything in between, because they actually have to go potty. And after that, I come back in and I'll do back and forth in the living room. We have a little boutique area that we use, but it's honestly like a living room in most people's homes.
Yeah.
Ricky's done a really nice job to make it look good. So,
Thanks,
see what they guys. But yeah, I would say walk back and forth in the living room, up and down a hallway. Hallways are nice because they're only one direction usually, with not a lot of like leeway on the sides. And then backyard, front yard, sidewalk in front of the house, and then go one house down, back, one house down, back.
The yard is hard. You're going to struggle in the yard, especially on a harness. But I would say that everything he mentioned, it builds up the habits inside and in a hallway and things like that. So when you do go outside, because realistically, most people are going outside, even though you're like, don't do that yet. They are. You've got all your good habits built up to just makes it a little bit easier. You're building up muscle memory is what you're doing.
Do some research in the different training tools that are out there. With your level of comfort, you'll find one that works best for you.
Yep. You got to get control of that head. Okay, Harley and Braxton. Oh, cute little puppy. I have a question for you. My daughter's 11-week-old puppy stays at my house when she works. Put him in crate, he poops, even if it's a short time, less than 30 minutes. Doesn't do that at her house. He comes a few times a week. She works 8 hours. Yeah, it could be a habit, it could be excitement. If anything arousal based, or not arousal based, all things cause stimulation. Even your puppy being loose and walking around your kitchen, it's getting their system moving and causing stimulation. So it's probably excitement arriving, to see grandma.
I'm curious to see how long it takes before he's arriving, how much affection he gets when he arrives, and then how soon he's going into his crate.
What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say, too much affection.
Yeah, don't
You
do so much.
Back a little bit. Normally she says it, but she didn't. She's trying to be a good cop right now.
No, I didn't think
bad
of it.
cop.
I forgot.
It's good.
Stop
But
ahead your dog.
a lot of times, just don't overexcite before going in the crate. And if you do overexcite, I get it. Grandma and grandpa, they tend to give a lot of affection.
Especially if they don't have grandchildren yet. They're
That's
like,
true.
grand puppies.
Stop putting ideas in their head. Sorry, owner of a 11-week-old puppy. But yeah, I would say give them a quick little walk, maybe in the living room, just to underexcite them, to bring down that energy, work through some of that stimulation. And by the time they're a little bit maybe even mouth open, tongue lolling, that's when they go into the crate.
And for 10 to 15 minutes, and then
Yes.
give a potty break. So
Yeah,
it allows
yeah.
their system to settle, and then give them a potty break. And then if the pooping's really consistent, until he poops every 15 minutes, and then you can leave him in there for a couple hours before you bring him out again. That's what I would do.
And I'd also ask your dog, when was the last time you went potty?
Yeah.
We actually do trackers. There's apps that you can find that literally let your daughter put in the exact times that the dog has gone potty,
Yeah.
and she can share that to you so you have access to it. Technology. I love it.
Technology.
My dad can barely even go on
I just like
anything.
I just
Let
like-
me calls.
I just like a chart on the fridge, but whatever, you do you.
Well,
Okay.
she's bringing the dog to their house.
That's whatever. I still do a chart on the fridge because if I don't write it down, I forget. I know, technology. Sound like my husband.
A paper does travel well.
Yes, paper.
I can't remember the last time I held a paper except when I sit here with you guys.
Oh my god. It's all about paper. Old school. Okay, all right. Tracy asked us a question previously. She had a puppy that she was integrating into her home where there was an older dog, and she was asking how that should work. So this is a follow-up. I have a question. I'm keeping my 8-week-old Dalmatian off my couch. Way to go. But there's a but in there. I lost my place. He's too small to jump up, but he tries so hard. My 9-year-old small dog mix is usually sitting up there. I either push the puppy off, distract him with a toy, and lately I've been having him sit to get his front paws off the couch, and then I'll give him a toy. I know I've got about a week or two until he's fully able to get on. How do I stop this? Just keep redirecting. Okay, so this is a lot of freedom for a small puppy. He
8
wants.
weeks old is a baby. It's like a
Yeah.
toddler. Not even that. It's like a baby in a crib that doesn't even know how to walk yet.
Yeah.
So, okay, sorry, keep going.
No, you're totally fine. He's right. You're asking too much of your puppy. Don't get me wrong. There's ways to get him to stop, but I just don't think you should do it. I don't think it's needed. I think you need more structure. If you have that young of a puppy and the older dog is on the couch, you should be doing something with your dog. Your dog should be in an enclosed pen, or you should be working with your puppy while your older dog is on the couch. If you and your older dog is on the couch and your puppy's on the ground, it's just not going to happen right now. You don't want to start your relationship with tons of no all day long. More structure, more crate time, more playpen, and then when you are working with your puppy, you're engaged. And so if the older dog is on the couch, it's not such a big pull. The puppies sounds like the puppy might start to learn that when he goes up to you and you're sitting on the couch, he's getting attention. And so no redirecting in the world is gonna stop that, because he's gonna be like, every time I go up to mom, she makes me sit and then gives me a toy, or
Paws on the couch.
or pushes me down, which starts to become like a game. Here's the thing, to make furniture off limits to a young puppy, the amount of even energy and proper relationship and firm blocking.
The firmness mainly, which
Not-
more like for young dogs.
Yeah, being very non-emotional, and because here's the thing, it would have to be only negative. If you wanted your puppy to not jump up on the couch at this age, you would purely have to be sending out nothing but a lot of don't even think about it, like a dog growling over his food bowl at another dog to stay away. Like you gotta get primal, and we just don't don't do that. Other trainers do. They do. We just don't. We do more structure, which is more management in the house. That's what I'm trying to say.
I've made a playpen pretty darn ritzy for a dog. I'm just saying, like a really nice dog bed. I've got like a little rubber mat underneath it so they can spend 30, 40, 50 minutes at a time in it. And even a couple little toys. Not like 12 toys. That's too much stimulation, but like 2 good toys, and every day maybe you swap out a toy. Yeah, proper chew toys because you don't want the fluff going into their system and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you can make a playpen pretty darn nice. And then if you do want to get them out to train them, you have that. If also, by the way, I wanted to mention this, my brain's all over the place. That's your older dog's freedom. Being on that couch, being away from your puppy.
Break.
So,
and it gives them that break.
And it
It's
gives
a
them
small
understanding
dog.
that he can just chill on that couch and be safe from the little crazy puppy that he probably hasn't fully warmed up to yet if the puppy's only 8 weeks old. So yeah,
and it's gonna be big.
I like the playpen too because even when your puppy does get bigger, your other dog, your 7-year-old's gonna be like, okay, I can move around and not be accosted by this young crazy puppy at all times.
Now don't get me wrong. When your puppy hits about the 14, 16, 18 week mark, you'll be able to add more accountability and set stronger limits for your puppy. But we just don't like if people are setting themselves up to do that in the beginning. You've got a lot of relationship work and training to build up before I would do that.
And if you want those limits, we mentioned them at the very beginning of the whole episode.
Oh yeah, the accountability and corrections and stuff. She also says, I have to say this, I really appreciate and enjoy your lives and training tips you share. You guys make me excited to work with my dogs. That's awesome. That's really good.
It.
Okay, cool. We are done. Let me double check my comments. I know, we actually
We're 1 minute short.
Even with that really long explanation in the beginning
Let's
of you completely throwing things under the bus. Let's see, we are good. Anything from over here?
30-minute answer.
All right, guys. Next week, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
I will make sure I have all the sources of where you guys can send questions.
Yep.
You can submit them beforehand on our IG story or do a DM, direct message, we learned, I know. And they can also type in the questions in the comment section here. And I know we usually say you can request a chat live, but it's not working too hot for the live. We've kind of had it mess up every time. So maybe when Instagram gets their stuff more worked out, we can, but I'm going to take that all together for now. And also TikTok.
Yeah.
And Google. Oh, yeah. Google too.
TikTok and
what's
Google.
The Google thing?
We skipped it because it looked different than everything else. So we'll finish off with one really quick question. How do I teach my puppy to play with other dogs? That is not a quick question. How long can I leave him alone in the crate? When he gets wild and starts to bark and nip, what should we do? He's a 4-month-old Havanese. We should have started with this. We could have done the whole show on this.
I'm going to take the first one. So there's a 3-part to this question.
You have 60 seconds.
All right, how do I teach my puppy to play with other dogs? 1, start them young and start it with a dog that matches their energy level. You want to break it up frequently, so you're not doing 30, 45 minutes of straight play. You're doing like 5, 6 minutes. Give them a little break, let them recoup mentally, not just physically, and then let them go back at it, and then do that a few times. When it starts getting more ear nipping and ear pulling and neck pulling, showing teeth, that's when it's too much. Mental stimulation is left, then physical is left.
Yeah.
That's when you want to end the play session before that.
And it needs to be a give and take relationship. If you have, no matter what the dog or puppy is, one of the puppies sometimes needs to be submissive and roll on their back or run around and be chased, and then the roles need to be reversed. If you want to know how your puppy is doing with play, you look at how they feel about the play. If they look overwhelmed, you need to advocate for them and step in and block the other dog. If it's reversed, if your puppy is being too intense, you need to block your puppy and tell them to get back and settle down and give everybody a break. If you really want to know what's going on, watch the dogs. How are they feeling about the training?
60 seconds.
How long can I leave them alone in the crate? A 4-month-old puppy, honestly, quite a while if they're potty trained, like 3 to 4 hours. But if you're still potty training, you're probably at an hour and a half.
2 to 4 hours.
Yeah, I would say if you're still potty training, you're looking at 1.5 hours, 2 hours, and then gradually increasing it. Personally, we don't like more than 4 hours without a break, but there are some adult dogs that can do that.
Adult dogs, no problem. But
Yeah.
puppies, not so much.
When he gets wild and starts to nip and bark, what should we do? You need to have a leash on your dog and settle them down. Please refer back to some of our other questions that were asked because we do specifically go over this. For jumping, it's the same for jumping as it is for nipping. So, all right, guys, have a wonderful week.
And we're going to awkwardly smile until Ricky turns off the rest of our cameras.
All three. Bye. The end.